We'll figure it out. So Trevor's going to come out again tonight, or what?
No. So he was going to.
Probably not his favorite.
Well, he may be his favorite.
Yeah.
So if Araceli and Joaquin want to come, and like we go to the food trucks and just eat with us,
Yeah.
we can see her. That's
Okay.
great. Otherwise,
We don't do it. It's easier that way if we have an idea going in and then we just tell people versus having a big group.
Yep.
Chance. You might want to speak into it so they can auxiliary test 1, 2, 3.
Testing.
That's loud.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I can bring it down on mine.
Okay, I also can bring it down over there. Why don't you listen and I trust your guys' ears more than my guys' ears.
But you were able to hear his voice.
That is so modulated. It sounded good though.
Keep talking.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Should I just leave it at 12 o'clock? Let's go through all of them because each microphone has to. Wireless microphone 2. Wireless microphone 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 4. Test. 2, 3, and 4. You may be able to hear this in a couple of days. Check 2, 3, 4. This is microphone 4, wireless microphone 4. Are we missing a handheld? Because I got 4. Is there microphone handheld 2 lying around over here? There it is. Is that it? Microphone check 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 2. Is this one good? Check 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. I can get rid. It's probably from the Apple DI. Check 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2. Hey. I'm guessing that it's probably one of these DIs. You know, you have it unplugged and you lean it on a table, you get that buzz.
I think it's definitely it's livable.
Absolutely.
for what they want to do. Yeah.
Vou-te contar, os olhos já não podem ver coisas que só o coração pode entender. Fundamental mesmo amor, é impossível ser feliz sozinho. O este mar e tudo que nem se conhece
stepping stone. Love will never let you go. It will satisfy your soul. Love. Love belongs to everyone. Love belongs. Love belongs to everyone. Love belongs to everyone. Love belongs.
started. Welcome to Global Education Day. I'm Lucy Gray, and I'm going to turn off our music right now, our mood music. And we're going to get the show on the road. Sorry we're starting a little bit late. I was waiting for Steve, and I realized Steve is like outside the door. So that's my doing. To get started, I want you to understand where you can find all of our materials today. There are a couple different ways to access these. And the first is you can go to classroom.google.com, click the plus sign, and enter that code. If it is not working for you, it is your EDU domain that is not letting you join another classroom, okay? So your systems admin would have to make that happen or whitelist it. Our suggestion is if you want to get into that is that you use your personal Gmail account for that. Okay, so if you think the problem is us, it's not. Sorry, it's the way that Google Classroom works, and I think you might like getting in there because everything's organized, and there's threads for you to introduce yourself and meet other educators that you might want to collaborate with. So while you're listening to everything today, try and get in there. Share that information with anybody that comes in late, please. So you might want to take a picture or write it down because it won't be up the whole time. The other way that you can get into our materials and directly to the interactive agenda that's been produced by our sponsor Participate is to go to bit.ly, bit.ly, /G, E, D, lowercase agenda. So that's how you get in there. There's also a QR code, so if you have a QR code on your mobile device, you can also scan it and get right to that agenda. It will bypass the Google Classroom, so you don't have to be in Classroom. If you just want to get to the agenda, you can. So that's how that works. My name is Lucy Gray, and I want to give you a minute or two to look at this and take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. Our first three Ignite speakers, if you guys could come back here and get mic'd up, so that's Kathleen, David, and is it Michael or Michael? Why don't you guys come back here and get mic'd up so that we can go and get going with things. So 2 more seconds to grab this information, and then I want to tell you a little bit about our event, if you're new to us, and what's new with the Global Education Conference Network. And then I'm going to turn it over to our MCs for the day. So if you don't know it, you're at Global Education Day. This is the 6th one that we've done. Steve Hargadine, come on down. You're here. This is my partner, Steve. Yay, Steve! And we want to welcome you to Global Education Day that is made possible by our friends at Participate. Can we have a big cheer from the Participate team? There's lots of you here. Woo, woo, woo! Okay. And Julie Keene and Brad Spearson are going to be our MCs in 2 seconds after I tell you what's new with us. We also want you to take a look at a book. Jennifer Klein, are you here? Jennifer Klein's right here, is the author of this new book, the Global Education Guidebook. It's brand spanking new. So if you want to know more about that, make sure that you talk to Jennifer today and congratulate her on the publication of her book. She's been an amazing participant in the Global Education Conference Network for a number of years and at Global Education Day specifically too. And she's now going to be head of a school in Columbia. So we're really excited for Jennifer and congratulations to you. So if you're not familiar with what we do, we are a 25,000 member network of people interested in global education and lots of representatives from organizations that do global education work. And we seek to be an umbrella for people and organizations who want to go global somehow so that you can learn about the best resources and things that might fit your particular school. And you can find us at globaleducationconference.com, and that's our main community, and you can post projects in there and questions and whatever and get our newsletter and that sort of thing. We have now expanded our work to do Global Education Day here at ISTE. We now do Global Leadership Week, which is going to be in March this year, and we're really excited because we're partnering with ASCD to do our summit at that conference. So if you know anybody going to Boston, make sure that they sign up for that on March 23rd. That information will be more public in August. And we also do Global Collaboration Day, which is a one-day celebration of teachers designing global projects and events and things and putting it online in September. So that will be September 21st this year. So we have a lot going on, and in fact, we're also adding a student conference to this that we've done it the past couple years, but it's been mostly focused on STEM, and we're kind of expanding it this year, and that will be in April as well. So we've got a lot going on, and we want you to get involved and learn more about what we do today. So Steve will have one of the roundtables going on today, and you can stop by and talk to him if you want when we move to the roundtable session. So this is how it's going to go today. I'm going to turn it over to our MCs. They're going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to bring up our first 3 Ignite speakers who have about 5 minutes to give their little spiel. And they're amazing people. Many of them have presented before here, and I think you'll be inspired by them. Then we're going to move into breakout sessions, and we'll pull up the agenda at that time. And we have lots of people who have volunteered to host discussions at the tables in the back. And they're all numbered, and those people will hold up their numbers when we do this. And then you'll move to a table of a topic that is, not right this second, but later. You will move to a table of something that interests you. These are meant to be discussions, not presentations, and they're meant to be kind of, a networking type of activity for you, so you get to know other educators and what they're doing and what tools and that sort of thing they may be using to go global. So that will be we'll do round of that. We'll do another round of Ignite talks, and then the second roundtable session, and we'll end with a Cool Tools duel. And to be more confusing than I have been, our working agenda is a Google Doc that we used before we turned it into this interactive agenda. If you want to do the Cool Tools duel, you can sign up in there now and put whatever you want to do. During the Cool Tools duel, teachers can get up and talk about something that they've done to connect their classroom, some tool that they found really useful. This is not something for companies to get up, unless they're a sponsor, to promote their tool and that sort of thing too. So it's mostly teachers that are going to be getting up and showing something that is really cool, and they have 2 minutes to do it. So that will be at the end. And then finally, we're going to hear from the 3 winners of a grant that we did with Participate this year, the Great Global Project Grant, Challenge Grant. And we have 3 of the people who won. 3 out of 9 people actually are here at ISTE. We're thrilled to have them. Can you guys stand up for a minute? If you, Ruth and Lori and Ronaldo, are you here? Ronaldo was here earlier. Woohoo! So we're really proud of you guys and your hard work, and I think they're going to be doing more projects this year, hopefully. So if you're looking for some cool partners, those are 3 go-to people. So without further ado, I want Steve to say hi, and then we'll turn it over to Julie and Brad.
Hi, thanks for being here. We love this group and the audience, and we hope you have a fun, productive day.
All right. And without further ado, we're going to bring up the dynamic duo of Brad and Julie.
All right, well, we've been already introduced, but I'm Julie from Participate.
And I'm Brad from Participate. So this is going to be a very interactive session, and Lucy noted the interactive agenda. Just so you know, it's not just an itinerary of things that we're going to be doing today, but the agenda on the bit.ly link is a way to capture all of the learning that's taking place in this room today so that we can share and extend that out with our organizations, with our professional learning communities. We have a Participate posse here that is happy to kind of show how you could benefit from not only this, but maybe how to curate resources, collaborate. There's a badging component.
Yep. So yeah, you can earn a badge for today after you collect some resources, throw it up in the interactive agenda, collaborate with peers, and reflect on the experience, and you can get a digital badge. So we'd love for you to try it out. So one thing that we wanted to talk about really briefly before the Ignite speakers is that one of the favorite parts of our job is Brad and I are doing a podcast called The Agile Administrator. And it's super fun. We work with our colleague Kate over there, who produces. And we've been talking to them a lot about how to help support innovation and how to help support educators like you And so there's a bunch of themes that have come up from these conversations that are pretty salient for today's conversations.
Yeah, there are really three themes. So think about it. The podcast is talking to connected administrators, superintendents, and how they're addressing change in their buildings, change due to technology, change due to global issues. And what we want to do is maybe help synthesize three of the big ideas that we've talked about.
Right, so obviously we love this event, as you can tell, participates all over the place because we love you guys so much and have been doing global education. And so we don't need to tell you that teachers and students are pretty hungry for the kinds of experiences, getting engaged in global challenges, authentic learning, project-based learning, using technology to connect in and across classrooms. So obviously that's something that I think a lot of district administrators are hearing and are trying to kind of support in their districts.
As well, trying to acknowledge and showcase the learning that takes place in kind of less formal or informal environments. So at a conference like ISTE, it's one thing to scan a badge and say that I've been to a session, but how do you actually bring back that learning that takes place at a conference, at an ed camp, at a Twitter chat, bring it back to your organization, maybe create a new lesson plan based on what you are learning from groups like this, other individuals that are coming here on a weekend during the summer. And it's all about taking those components and making sure that other people that did not have the privilege to go to those events have a very easy way to learn from your experience.
And another part of my day job is doing a lot of research on the impact of this kind of new professional learning that's kind of more teacher-driven, trying to give autonomy a lot back to teachers. And we're really seeing a lot of results in the classroom, not surprisingly. It turns out that when teachers engaged, students are engaged, and vice versa. So it really does work. So I think without further ado, we should probably get going on the Ignite speakers. So who's up first?
We have a very engaging opening Ignite speaker, and I'm not just saying that because he's my boss. This is David Young, the CEO of Participate. David.
Thanks. No pressure there. Before I get started, I want to thank Steve and Lucy for their leadership in our community. It's just awesome that y'all been able to keep this going and grow it every year. So thank you for all your work. Are we ready to go? This way? All right.
I forgot one person to thank, and that's Padcaster. This is Josh from Padcaster over here behind the camera. He is streaming this on our Facebook page. So go visit Padcaster in their booth at the show. I think you will really like this device, this mobile production studio. And thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Ready. Good afternoon. Come on. Good afternoon. All right. So about a year ago, we were here, and I announced at that time, at the very same event, that VIF International Education would be acquiring a company, a tech development company called Participate Learning. You might see where this is going. Our goal was to ensure that all students could access global learning. You've heard me say it many times. I've been quoted many times as saying that global cannot just be for the lucky few in private schools and magnet schools and in higher ed, but that it needed to be a standard component of a quality education for all students. So we decided to do something about it. So we bought Participate, and on September 1 last year, we launched an integrated platform that blended 30 years of global education experience with training, content, and a high-test platform that can serve millions of teachers and students worldwide. Online global PD for teachers, curated collections of thousands of global ed resources, micro-credentials, digital badging, school implementation models, Twitter ed chats, and a global community of teachers from more than 150 countries. The pieces are in place to truly extend global learning to all schools and students. But we ran into a problem. The work's well underway, but then people started saying, what's VIF? And when you go look it up, it's pretty clear. VIF stands for Visiting International Faculty. And people started to say, well, why would I buy online professional development and global programming from visiting international faculty? We had a little bit of an issue. And so we thought back and we said, after 30 years that we celebrated in May, just a month ago, we began to think about why did we start the organization in the first place? It was to provide citizens with opportunities to engage with the world, to meet and know someone not like them, to better understand and appreciate other cultures and cultural differences. But why? Why did we think this was important? This was 30 years ago. We wanted our citizens to be prepared to participate in a rapidly globalizing society. Boom. Suddenly it made total sense. VIF was simply a solution to the problem, but it wasn't actually our core mission or vision. We wanted people to come together across nations and borders, to build friendships, to collaborate on global challenges, to share worlds, and to learn. And none of this can happen without what? What had to happen? Participation. Participation is key to everything. We want our kids to participate in sports, in extracurricular activities, in community events, in civic life. Global learning, the very reason that we started the organization 30 years ago, is deeply rooted and foundational. It's real life, hands-on, tangible, and meaningful participation. To be a global citizen, you need to be an active participant in what's going on around the world. To be curious, to care about citizens half a world away, to understand complex global issues, to act locally in ways that support global solutions. Being a global citizen is not really that complicated. It's basically being a nice person and doing the right things for humanity. So with the challenge of VIF no longer representing the breadth of our work, we decided, like anyone would do in our 30th year, to rebrand and change our name to Participate, a name that truly represents the past, present, and future of our work. Now, in past presentations, I've urged you and your organizations to join us in this critical effort to expand global ed beyond our small circle of believers to those yet to move on with us. But I never had a specific opportunity in mind to offer or to ask for. However, with the UN's adoption of the powerful Sustainable Development Goals, today we all have the opportunity to point our work towards a common set of objectives, to harness the power of our small group of thoughtful citizens and focus on a clear and urgent directive. At Participate, we're adopting this framework and aligning our work to them, and here are 3 reasons you should do the same. 1, the SDGs serve as a practical framework for building global connections and competencies. They're an extension of the Millennium Development Goals focused on addressing extreme poverty in its many dimensions, including poverty, hunger, disease, lack of adequate shelter and exclusion, and concurrently they promote gender equality, education, and environmental sustainability. Being part of the SDGs is a powerful opportunity for teachers and students to take part in this larger movement if they are unable to travel outside their schools or communities. Second, the SDGs provide a simple framework for teachers to try something new and collaborative. We want to make global education accessible, enticing, and affordable to educators, schools, and districts. When our instructional design team began to think about incorporating the SDGs into our curriculum, they had to ask, how do we convince teachers it's worth the time, energy, and risk to teach the SDGs? How do we support them once they're in the classroom teaching these complex topics? We decided that free, short, professional development courses for educators around the SDGs would be a meaningful way to start. Each course provides some information about a goal, why it's important, how it impacts different parts of the world, resources, sample lesson plans, and various ways to connect with others around these issues. Teachers can earn digital badges for teaching lessons or topics in their classes, documenting, reflecting on the experience, and submitting their evidence. Third, and last, the most effective global learning takes place in communities. Teachers learn a lot from other teachers. Luckily, A vibrant network of activists and educators committed to the Sustainable Development Goals already exists. So all we needed to do was provide opportunities to teachers looking to connect. We thought Twitter chats would be a perfect way to connect educators, activists, and innovators who are using social media to exchange ideas for addressing the SDGs. One story that stuck with us was a teacher participating in a chat who wanted to do a project with her students on World Water Day, but cited budget constraints. Other educators in the chat jumped in to encourage her with stories of doing specific projects and activities that cost no money. This not only gave that teacher concrete ideas for projects, but it helped her find her community, other teachers passionate about this kind of teaching, and an extended network she can look to as a resource next time she wants to collaborate. And so this is what we ask of you. We're asking everyone in this room to visit participate.com, click Become a Stronger Educator, and access one or more of the free United Nations SDG courses that we have available. As you participate in this new kind of learning, reflect upon your approach to global education and what you can do to make it more accessible, enticing, affordable to educators, schools, and districts. Once you complete the course, you will be awarded a badge that showcases your new global competencies as well as the work you completed to obtain them. We hope you'll share this with others so they can benefit from your contributions and embark on their own path of global immersion and personal discovery. Thank you so much for the work you do, for being here, for your commitment to global education year over year. The entire world benefits from your participation. Thank you.
Thanks, David. That was great. Next up, we're pretty thrilled to have Michael Furtick here. His passion for youth engagement, I think, goes without saying, and has taken him across many stages, including TED in several countries. Taking it global has supported, I'm sure, many of you in getting students engaged. So, again, take it away.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and thanks again to Lucy and Steve for hosting. I'm going to press play. Okay, I'll wait till you press play. I have all the timing. But one of my favorite, I thought I'd actually start with this really interesting data point, because a lot of our support recently has actually been coming from kind of an economic development lens on global citizenship and global engagement. And it's the fact that the British Council found that employers all across Europe, the top 500 employers, found the knowledge and awareness of the wider world of a candidate as more valuable and more important than their degree or their final grades. Not wanting to play. That's okay. You could start on this. Yeah, great. So it should be 20 seconds. So that's kind of just an illustration of the fact that, it's not just, a nice to have, this idea of kind of cross-cultural competency or global understanding, but it's actually essential for students to compete for the most exciting, most enticing kind of high-skill jobs in the future. And that was the 500 largest employers all around the world. And so the journey that we've been on for the last 17 years, when I was a high school student, we decided to start this charity, this organization called Taking It Global, with this tagline of inspire, inform, and involve, trying to help young people understand and act on the world's greatest challenges. And it really began with the Millennium Development Goals, these 15 bold goals for 2015, and it grew ever since. And so we had this vision, what would it look like if young people were around the world, as students and youth, were actively engaged and connected in shaping a more peaceful, inclusive, and sustainable world. And the MDGs offered a great framework to do that, and we thought that, why not use the power of the internet, of online communities to do that. And I thought it'd be pretty easy to raise funding for a charity, but learned that it wasn't quite as easy as I thought from the startup world. So being in Canada, I think there's a big challenge of student engagement in many developed countries. In Canada, only 45% of our grade 12 students feel like they're intellectually engaged. And when they're asked why, there's a great US study on, national study on student engagement, they're not finding what they're learning relevant. They're not seeing, the connection to the real world. And so actually 11 years ago here at ISTE, we launched a program with support from Microsoft and Chris Dede at Harvard called TIGED, or Taking It Global for Educators. And the idea there has really been to foster community, to build a network. We have now over 5,000 schools in 153 countries that are collaborating and building community. And really looking at these three key ingredients that we think, authentic, engaging projects need. Relevance, where's the real world problem-solving opportunity? Authenticity, where's the audience for students? And depth, really exciting and engaging students beyond just a homework assignment in something they care about. And so the program I want to share quickly today is a program that was actually co-founded by ourselves and Terry Godwalt from Edmonton Public Schools, who you'll meet later. And it's a series of video conferences that happen all throughout the school year. We ran about 20 or 30 this year to bring together schools all around the world to really dig into real, authentic problems and challenges and connecting them to policy and opportunities for impact. And the reason I think it's so important is this data, the World Economic Forum, looking at what are the skills that are essential in 2020 and the future. Number one skill, 2015 and 2020, complex problem solving, and all those other deep learning competencies moving up. So how do we expose our students to these opportunities for complex problem solving? We think Global Encounters is a perfect example of a model to do that. So in Global Encounters, students initially get some training on the issue, whether it's child soldiers or climate change. They get background. They collaborate with schools around the world, often about 6 to 10 schools. They're collaborating and working together on understanding. We pair them up with graduate students for mentoring, and then they produce a final product. So some examples this year, we've done a Child Soldiers Conference. We worked with UNESCO to develop input on global competence and had 10 different countries represented at UNESCO's conference in Ottawa. The United Nations Climate Change Conference in Morocco, 10 countries there as well, and working with Polar Bears International to bring students onto the shores of the tundra to talk to climate scientists. And on our website, we've now published several white papers. Students have collaborated and put together these papers and had opportunities to present them to decision makers. Several secretary generals at the UNESCO conference apologized to students for not doing a better job with student engagement and promised to address it. And at the UN, they had the opportunity to present their work. This COP22 white paper was called Blue Youth. And it was the efforts, 11,000 students, many nonprofit partners, collaborating to give students a voice on the global stage at the real United Nations. Not just the model United Nations, which was a great start, but how can they have an impact on decision makers? And the decision makers are really excited to get their coherent impact. And even in Alberta, Terry will speak a bit later about decarbonize in particular and that opportunity. One of the things that blew me away is that we've had government leaders now. The Premier of Alberta has come into the school and actually asked to have a dialogue with students. They're getting heard, they're getting noticed. And I think that's where these opportunities for global collaboration really bear fruit for students, is they see that it's not just student voice in the classroom, but it's student voice in policy in the real world. There's a lot of people out there eager to hear their voices. And we think that Global Encounters offers one clear, simple channel. And it doesn't require complex video conferencing technology. Anyone with Skype or the ability to collaborate with a camera can join the Global Encounters program. So I thought I'd close with this question, which we've asked for many years and our friends at Starbucks put on their cups a while ago, which is that I think we all wonder if our students were actively engaged in these different aspects of society and thought of themselves as community leaders, problem solvers, role models, mentors, and key stakeholders, how would the world change? Thank you very much.
That was awesome. Thank you. We now want to introduce Kathleen Fritz, who, among other things, is a social entrepreneur, a designer, and the founder of Create 'em, Set, Go.
Hi, I'm also an instructional coach in design thinking, so get you all keyed up here. All right, okay, I have to keep talking. So I came here, are you ready? Or? Should we make a roll? So everybody's read Harold and the Purple Crayon? Who's read Harold and the Purple Crayon? Let me see a show of hands. Okay, so when I talk about Harold and the Purple Crayon, you'll understand maybe why he is the reason why I'm a design thinker. And go ahead, roll it. Oh, they're on auto. Okay. If they're on auto, then I don't need to. Okay, yeah, good. Okay. So, perfect. So Harold and the Purple Crayon is the reason why I'm a design thinker. And his purple crayon when I was a kid was a magic wand to me. And he used his purple crayon to create everything he needed and everything he desired. I was the youngest of 3 kids, and usually as the typical youngest kid, you let them do whatever they want, eat dirt, that kind of thing. And so I was always out in the woods on boulders and pretending that they were elephants one day and a bus another day. And I went to design school for my master's degree. And there we learned about what's called the squiggle diagram of the design process, where it's really, really messy. Oh, I don't think it's on. Yeah. Where it's really, really a messy process. And then all of a sudden you come up with this really amazing design. Some people think that's kind of like the magic of design. And for me, this makes total sense to me. This is how I always think about doing things. And anybody who ever works with me, sometimes like, Kathy, too much information. Where are you? We can't find you. So we found that companies that are doing things like IDEO and Stanford D School have helped to be able to decode that. And so a lot of people are familiar with this. How many people have seen this before? So lots of people have seen this come up with the D School. So they kind of unmessied the whole design process, and they looked at being able to create a human-centered approach to that. And it's that human-centered approach that I think has really created, so design thinking is not about just making pretty things, it's about making changes and making a social impact. So for me, I see the design thinking framework as a perfect marriage with dealing with our global challenges that we're having in these times that we're dealing with. And I'm going to go through a little bit of an example that I had from when I did work on a Fulbright Fellowship to a Srishti School of Art Design Technology and working with Communities Rising, which is a nonprofit out-of-school program in rural Tamil Nadu. So we went through and we worked with rural villages and about 20 teachers who serve about 1,000 children in the Villapuram district of Tamil Nadu, India. And what we did is Communities Rising was having this problem. One is they do a lot of professional development with teachers. And they were having the problem of art supplies being stolen, so the teachers sometimes move from school to school. And they were having issues with being able to carry their art supplies with them, as well as being able to have instructions on how to integrate art and design thinking within teaching things like English, math, and computer literacy, because they were really into this whole concept of what is considered happy learning. And so we worked with the students at Srishti, and I was there for about 7 months. And we prototyped a new bag. We talked and interviewed with the different teachers, found out they had issues with like portability because they have to bring them either on motorcycles or on the bus, as well as being able to have something for students to carry with them so they can actually personalize and bring them home. Most of the students we were working with were in part of the Dalit population. And some of the children were completely illiterate, and so we worked on both a curriculum that allowed for Tamil and English translation, as well as having pictographs so students could kind of follow along and sort of learn on their own. We worked with tailors, these are some of our teachers that we were working with, sort of going through and prototyping and playing with the curriculum, and then delivering that curriculum to students within the program. And what we found is that the design thinking process we took our students through on the university level really helped them to gain empathy with who they were actually serving, and a lot of them are actually working in different types of NGOs throughout India now, as well as was able to engage and create empathy between students who are much more privileged and working in cities and working in their rural areas of the place. One of the things that we did, though, is that we really sourced local materials, including there's a lot of like these vinyl signs kind of all over the place used for political events and used by companies. So we actually were able to reclaim vinyl signage to make some of the bags out of, and waste material in order to do that. And we worked with local tailors that were specifically within the Villapuram district. And it shows that simple materials can make a big impact. So you can always work locally in sourcing those things. It's the thinking that is what drives the actual creation of things. And so it could be anything from looking at, we were doing ethnographic research in the rural area of, called the Hills outside of Bangalore. And we were capturing sort of the rural development and sort of the transition of development within this area with the villagers, and just using chalk and sticks and stones and local materials that they could actually go and grab. Like we would ask them different questions and be translated, like, when did the power lines come through? And they would draw when the power lines would come through. And so we would ask them to engage with us and being able to understand what was happening in their community. It could also be working with 7th and 8th graders at a Kipway school with another nonprofit called Community Guilds, where we worked on a healthy food cart donation using, that's the Connect 4 down there to keep score. So kids would compete with each other between classes, and we used recycled wheels, and we used cardboard for prototyping. And the kids came up with this game. Well, if we were in competition with each other about donating the most healthiest food to this local pantry in West Atlanta, that would actually maybe help kids actually recognize what is healthy food donation. Another example is at Decatur Makers, working with them to develop lesson planning for 8th graders to teach to younger kids who are 6th graders, You know, these are pencils, a used fire alarm, and Play-Doh that we use to investigate thermodynamics. We were doing like a whole urban area kind of piece. So one of the things that I'm seeing, though, is that teacher education on the university level is really where we need to be first harnessing the design thinking process. And if we're going to have any kind of impact within the global goals, we need to be starting there and really working with our university students. In design college, we make our students go through that, but in typical universities, they don't. We're starting to get some, go ahead. They're starting to get some, so this quality education that we have here, it's got to be more than just throwing out these global goals to teachers. And we talk a lot about design thinking, but there's not a whole lot of training of teachers to understand how to use design thinking to apply towards these global goals. We just sort of expect it to happen. We see that universities are starting to incorporate a problem-based learning approach or incorporating design thinking or innovation in teaching their university students, but only 1 out of 10 teachers are actually using these approaches. In higher ed, in any of their classes, only 50% of the time. So you're having university students who are graduating, and we're grabbing students from all over, both in schools of education as well as coming from other departments and other professions to work in teaching, but they're not getting actual modeling of that kind of the kind of design thinking processes they need to have. And so one of the things that I've seen is if we work through our learning networks, professional learning networks, our learning communities, that this could be a way of creating that global accessibility. It's okay. And what we find is that it's a very strong alignment, and probably other people who are running other PLCs have that same alignment with design thinking. So we're really looking at that shared mission and collaborative learning, as well as looking at that sort of results-oriented. But the problem is that we have kept all of those PLCs, or many of them, we keep them locked away in our schools. We don't actually get out of our classrooms or beyond our 4 walls of our schools to be able to go and reach those teachers. So what I sort of see is that if we start engaging with around that design thinking process, and we bring together schools and teachers in schools, we bring together pre-service teachers in universities, and then we also partner with NGOs, nonprofit organizations, and businesses to address the global sustainable goals. We can actually bring that knowledge to our students in the K-12 space and give them that purple crayon of design thinking to be able to actually really make an impact. Thank you.
Now we are going to divide into the roundtable portion, the first of 2 roundtables today.
So we're going to bring that up on the agenda.
Are we going to show you on the agenda what our options are? So
what we're going to do, I'll take over. I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes to pick up your stuff and move to the locations where these discussions are going on. Again, I will also put up the slides with the information on how to get into this interactive agenda again so that you can get there. And we have about, 15 to 20 people who volunteered to host a table, and they are all in the back, and they all have a number. If you are a facilitator for one of these discussion tables, I'm going to ask you to stand up with your number and hold it up high so that people can find you. You probably will need to get into the agenda on your device to best see it right now, and then make your decision and go to the table that you want to. So facilitators, hold up your numbers, and everybody move, and we have about 25 minutes to chat and talk about our topics. Okay. Let me get the slides up. Here, let me get this slide up.
We had to refresh the page, sorry, so I would have jumped into table 12. So we're going to, are we doing all of them? Am I in the first? That wasn't clear to me. 20, so yeah. Yeah, it's 20. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm going.
Hello. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I wouldn't stress out about it.
I'm not hearing anything through here, so perhaps it's worth.
Testing? Testing, 1, 2, 3.
So I did hear it in here, but not. It wasn't consistent. So let me plug this in. If nothing else, I can give it a charge.
Yeah, why don't you charge it for charge? Without like, yeah, without screwing it up somehow.
Right, I don't want to turn it off. You should be able to. But I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. We can do part 1 and 2 if you want to.
Well, we could, but I'm right now. As long as I plug this back in when we start to go to the next one. I'll be
Okay.
fine.
So we got a few minutes. Okay. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
streaming, and then them all the way over there, right? Like
For the ignites?
yeah.
I don't think he can.
Right. I think it'd be weird to just talk, and then there'd be people.
Yeah. Everyone, I'm just going to give you the 3-minute warning here. We're going to come back this way for the next 2 Ignite talks. I know that's a lot of moving, but this is your 2-minute warning. Thank you. Yeah, people can bop around the beach balls if they want. Yeah, absolutely. That was the point. I wanted to make it fun. Coming up.
Okay. And do you want me to stay close?
Yeah, you do. Yes.
Okay.
I've got.
Is it on automatic switch?
Here's the thing.
I put it in, but when I went to it just now, it looked like it was.
Here's how it works. So here's Jessica's. What you have to do with this, I didn't realize, is you have to go here. I knew you had to publish it.
Yeah, so I did that.
But here's the trick. You're going to do it every 5 seconds. This is what I learned. It's 5 seconds for every slide. Oh, 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Oh my God, sorry. Sorry, I'm like panicking. And then you have to take this link.
Yeah.
And then the link is what we use.
You see,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So I need to fix hers because I put hers in every 5 seconds.
That would be important, and just to make sure you have the right code, go to the end, and it'll actually say 15.
Oh, that's brilliant. Where does it say it?
Right in the, is that the? I don't think
That's that.
Oh yeah, I thought it said 15 or something.
And if I do it every 30 seconds, it doesn't change it.
Terry, how do you pronounce your last name? Godwalt. Brad, Spears.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Mike walked off with the microphone.
We got him.
He walked off?
He's over on the couch.
Oh.
Yeah, see how it says 1500 at the end?
Yeah, what's that?
That's
1500
15 seconds.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So 15 is good then. What do you want to see? Should I time it?
Here. No, I don't want to mess with hers. That's hers.
Unfortunately, everybody.
Hang on 2 seconds. I want to make sure I'm doing the right. I'm doing the right thing. So this is yours. I've got 2 of hers up, and I just want to make sure I have the right one. Okay, and then yours is here. Okay, everyone, we're going to start our next two Ignite talks, so come find a seat and we'll get started in about as soon as you get over here. Thank you.
Brett?
You going next, or is Jessica? I believe Jessica's first.
I am. Thank you. This is Wendy. She's presenting it. She's doing the interview. Excellent. She's my superintendent.
Very cool.
She's also
Come on down, everyone. We're going to do the next two Ignites. You can get a front row seat.
I'll do the next one.
We are streaming on Facebook. Okay, let's get settled and we're going to get our next Ignite talks going. I know you're having fun chit-chatting, but we have another session of roundtables coming up, so you can keep the conversations going in a few minutes. For those of you who may have come in a little bit later, this is where you can get all the resources for that we've produced for this event. There is an interactive agenda. There's an old agenda too. All the slides from the Ignite talks are in there as well, plus a collection done in Participate of resources to get you started with taking your classroom global. So to get into that classroom, you need to go to classroom.google.com and click on the plus sign that's there in the upper right-hand corner and put in this code. If it doesn't work for you, it's working. Trust me, it's working. If it doesn't work for you and you're using a G Suite email address, a Gmail address from your school, it means that your school's G Suite administrator has not enabled you to go into other domains for Google Classroom, okay? So the workaround for that is to use a personal Gmail address to get into that. If you just want to get into our agenda, which has a lot of the stuff in the Google Classroom, you can go to bit.ly/GED agenda, and that will take you directly right into the interactive agenda so you can see what we're doing. You can see the roundtable resources and everything in one place, okay? So I just want to make sure that you have this. If there's somebody next to you who needs help with this, help them, please, okay, so that they can get in there and get all this good stuff. So we've got 2 Ignites, and then we'll have another roundtable discussion, then Cool Tools Duel, and then we're going to wrap up at the end with hearing from our Great Global Project Challenge winners. So without further ado, Brad and Julie.
All right, welcome back. So for our first Ignite of the second session, we are pleased to introduce 2 members of the Bullis Charter School Public K-8 Charter School team in Northern California. We have Jessica Lura, the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and Wendy Hersey, the Founding Superintendent.
Thank you. All right. All right, good morning. Good afternoon. I am Jessica Lura, and my colleague, my principal, is Wendy Hersey. We are from Bullis Charter.
Yep. Okay. I'm going. We're all set.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Jessica Lura, and my colleague is Wendy Hersey. We are from Bullish Charter School, a K-8 public school in California, and we are here to talk about our experiences in educating students to become globally literate, active participants in today's society. And you might be asking yourself, what does it mean to be globally literate, to be able to make change in the world? A student who is globally literate sees themselves as a player in the world, able to identify problems and find real solutions. These skills are not necessarily just for the future, but for today as well. But to be truly globally literate, students also need to be able to recognize perspectives, others and their own. They need to be able to articulate these perspectives and feel comfortable looking at the world through someone else's lens, walking in someone else's shoes. They need to understand that the lens of each of us use when we look at the world is influenced by context and values. And so when thinking about problems and solutions, you need to understand that we may all see the same situation or cat in different ways. One way for students to see the world through other people's lens is to have them participate in immersive virtual reality experiences, such as the One World, Many Stories curriculum from the Global Nomads Group. It focuses on using technology to spark student curiosity and cultivate empathy for our classrooms. Our students not only discuss their own perspectives, but dive deeply into what it might mean to be a student from a different context. How would it mean to walk in their shoes and to see the world through their lens? How would it impact the choices they make and the problems that they identify? An intriguing side note to virtual reality is that research has shown that people who inhibit avatars of a different race in a virtual world later score lower in tests of subconscious racial bias, providing another reason to use virtual reality as a way to see others' perspectives. But being able to develop empathy and to see the world through another person's lens is not enough. To be globally competent, students need more than to be empathetic. But how do we make the transformation from understanding someone's point of view to actually making a difference in the world around us? To support our students in becoming problem finders and problem solvers, we have used a design thinking process and mindsets to support students in developing the skills necessary to change the world. Design thinking is a human-centered, creative problem-solving process that begins with empathy and ends with solving a problem. We ask our students to use this process and mindsets to identify local problems, community problems, and global problems, all based on understanding other people's points of view.
For example, our 8th graders grapple with challenges such as designing a new school for our student body, which involves learning about what it means to be a 1st grader or a 3rd grader. They talk to the younger students, watch them as they work and play, and brainstorm ideas based on what they have learned about these other students. They take all of the information and create prototypes that illustrate their ideas, first creating paper prototypes and then creating a 3D model. They craft a mission statement and get feedback from industry experts and the students they are designing for, because at the end they are solving a very specific problem for a specific group of people. In another project, students are challenged to design an educational problem facing a student or group of students, looking specifically at who they are and what they need. In this example, the students are focusing on a student whom they named Bobby. They then turn their brainstorming and ideas into wireframes that they test with the students they are designing for. This may include designing apps for students who struggle with memorizing multiplication facts or students who are struggling with learning Mandarin. In both cases, the 8th graders need to understand the perspective of their users so that they can truly meet their needs. The 8th graders also design enrichment experiences for moon bears living at a moon bear rescue center. Though all the students started with the same challenge, how might we design a way to keep the moon bears at the rescue center healthy and mentally active? The students zoomed in, identified specific bears and their problems to solve. And while solving these problems, they're using the tools of today: collaboration, communication, creativity, prototyping, testing, and technology. They are not just learning how to put themselves in another's shoes or paws. They are learning how to utilize their schooling to solve real problems, problems that they defined. Students need to be given these opportunities so that they can develop the skills, knowledge, and attitudes necessary to be successful global citizens. You cannot just talk about other people in the classroom and expect students to really understand their context or point of view. They need opportunities, either virtual or in real life, to walk in their shoes. Students need to be given the space and opportunities to learn how to identify and solve problems. With so many problems facing the world today, our students need to learn in school how to be agents of change, how to think of themselves as problem solvers, and how to have the tools necessary to make that change happen.
So if we work together as educators, we can make this happen. Our challenge to you is what will you do today to make this happen? How are your students learning to walk in other people's shoes? How are they learning to define and solve problems? How might we act together to support our students in becoming globally competent change makers? Thank you.
Okay, wow, you guys win. That was great. 5 minutes for two of you. All right, super excited to introduce our next speaker, Terry Godwalt. He is the director at the Center for Global Education and in Canada, and he's really dedicated to educating 21st century students and giving them tons of global learning opportunities, and he's going to be talking about some very cool projects coming up. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, thank you. Tell me when. Decarbonize is the world's largest synthesis of youth opinion on climate change. Last year, over 11,000 youth representing 14 nations collaborated over a 3-month period to build knowledge, consensus around climate action and policy that they then shared at the UN Climate Change Conference in Morocco. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are facing a global crisis of will in which our youth are increasingly feeling alienated from the systems of power that are shaping the world that they will inherit. They look at the world around them and don't see themselves as ever being able to contribute to the solutions that are needed. To compound this, they look at what they are learning in the classroom and feel that it is irrelevant to the world they see around them. How can we expect them to be engaged when they don't even believe that what they are learning is meaningful or important to the lives that they, in turn, will be living? And we see the results of this reflected in mental health, student engagement, and, which I find most concerning, hope. Hope. Hope is what the world is, a belief that we can and will have a better place, shaped by the knowledge and skills that what they are receiving through the time they spend with us in the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our job. It is our job to provide hope for students, to equip them with the skills, knowledge, and belief that if they work at something greater than themselves, that they can in turn achieve it. And it is that desire that gave birth to Decarbonize, and our desire to bring youth from across the planet to come together to face climate change head on. Since the UN Climate Change Conference in 2009, we've been facilitating this dialogue, bringing together different global partners. The Center for Global Education, which is what I run, co-facilitates this event with Taking It Global in partnership with such amazing groups as the Great Barrier Reef, Oceans.org, Polar Bears International, and a dozen other such groups. And as I said earlier, Decarbonize is the world's largest synthesis of youth opinion on climate change and action. Last year, over 11,000 youth representing 14 nations spent 25,000 hours collaborating in advance of the conference in Morocco. And through this whole experience, the entire world is working together online using a variety of social networking and collaboration tools in which they share and refine their ideas while being mentored by graduate students and researchers in their respective fields. And the proof is in the pudding. Following COP22, the 14 nations went on to share their research with 18 of the world's top research institutes, did 200-plus presentations to NGOs, industries, and governments, from the local all the way to the national, and inspired further action of over 50,000 students. All of this is built on the Global Encounters process of training, collaborating, mentoring towards a final product. Students move from a local context in which they spend a month working with their national partners to get a feeling of what's happening in their own backyard, and move that all the way up until they start pairing global north, global south countries, comparing and contrasting their realities. Schools then move to a tri-regional in which they're building consensus on continental groupings, north and south. Finally, they're coming together real time. And all this work, after 25,000 hours, brings the paper, bringing us to today. Based on 9 years of success, we've blown the walls off our collaboration. In advance of this year's conference, we want to bring together 100,000 youth. And in addition to blogs and videos and papers, this year we are hosting a global gallery in which we aim to have 20,000 submissions of art and action projects, which we are then going to bring with us to the United Nations Conference. And this is where we need you. We need your school, district, and organization to help us bring together a symphony of youth to sing a song of action that will mobilize our planet's leaders to take action and respond to the challenges laid out by the youth of today. And don't tell me we can't make this change. Ladies and gentlemen, we were commissioned to do a similar work that was brought to UNESCO World Forum in March, which, like all UN agencies, conferences, it is not allowed for youth under 18 to officially participate. After the students shared this work, they were given a standing ovation, and Secretary Generals from across the planet committed to changing the practice of UNESCO in terms of youth under 18 engagement, and apologized for how youth have not been involved, and pledged to make a change moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have come to a crossroads. I believe passionately that the schools do not exist in a bubble in which we create work that our students do and then can keep it within the walls, be they walls of a classroom locally or a classroom globally. And let's bring it back to some Alice in Wonderland, in which Alice said, "One can't believe impossible things," and the Queen said, "Well, you haven't had much practice. When I was your age, I did it at least half an hour a day. Why? Sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Ladies and gentlemen, what was once impossible is now possible, and it is our job to make what was once extraordinary ordinary. I tell you from experience, the world is listening, and it is our job to work together and provide a megaphone to the mouths of our students and a global stage on which they can stand and have their voices for change call heard, be that in America, in Afghanistan, Texas, or Tunisia.
Okay, so those are, you did it with flair. That was awesome. Thank you, Terry. That was great. Thank you to all of our speakers. You guys have been phenomenal and inspiring, and there's a lot to take. Oh, and I'm not standing in front of the iPad. Okay, so we're going to move into the next round of roundtable discussions, but before we do that, I want to make sure that you know, I'm going to put it up here in a minute, in the non-interactive original agenda that we were working in. It's a Google Doc. It's in Google Classroom. You can sign up to do the Cool Tools Duel, which will be one of our last segments. So if you are a classroom teacher and you're doing something phenomenal with a tool that you love, come up and show us how it helps teachers to go global, okay? Right now we're going to have a half an hour roundtable or so. So take a look at the agenda, see what table you want to go to, or just join any table, and you'll have about half an hour to network. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure, because I didn't realize with the Google Slides you publish it, and I thought it just went. It doesn't. You have to take a certain link from it and use it.
I know you keep saying it. I'm our Google Apps admin, and we have all the classroom versions, but when I put in the code, it gives me an error, even though like I know that our Google Apps, something is weird with it.
It works totally.
I was like,
no, there's something.
There's something
you have to whitelist it.
Oh, explicitly? We have like every awesome program with it. Because I've never actually used it before, and I was like, oh, I can try it out.
There's something in your settings.
That's turned off. Okay, I'll play around with it. I didn't want to be like,
no,
I gotta figure it out. It's weird. Yeah, so it must have. Thanks again for. Let's follow up when you guys are done. It was.
Yeah, so weird. The whole student is just like, he's worried about reliability stuff for anyone.
I thought I'm not really worried about it. Like, we've had insurance. We've done so many crazy things that like.
You know what I think it is? I think you're like,
We have lots of pro bono law firms that work with us. Like, not like good call. Yeah. And we have a good board too, who's like kind of we have this risk management stuff, but generally we do a lot with youth, with indigent, there's a lot of risks, but there's a lot of insurance policies you can buy and a lot of strategy you go in. So yeah, we'd love to. Yeah. Thanks. Well, thanks for facilitating again the space.
Yeah, thanks. We have 4 slots left for the Cool Tools Duel. If you want to participate in that, come see me. We have about 15 minutes left till we start the Cool Tools Duel. If you want to participate and show a tool, come see me.
Nancy Blair Black. Hi, Nancy. How are you? This is Lainey Blair. Hi. I wanted to make sure to meet you. We had lunch this morning, but I didn't. Oh, no, I did not get to it. No, somehow I missed that invitation. Would have loved to do that. Yeah. But so maybe next time. But we're here. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. So I want to make sure we connect. So did you guys present here? Are you presenting in State too? I have 3 sessions. Yeah, gosh. So what year are you in high school now? I'm a senior next year. Oh my gosh, you know where you want to go to school? I have ideas, but I'm not sure. Yeah, big school, small school. I'm not. You don't want to commit. I think I'd be okay anywhere. I just need to figure out what to do. Yeah. My daughter just went through the whole thing, and she's going to small school in Iowa. And I tried to get rid of her. I'll be sad to see her leave, but I'm excited for her because it's a great opportunity. She always thrives when she's away from us. So we'll be here without her. So you have a little time to get prepared. Yeah. No, I can't, when I think about it, I totally freak out. Like the whole idea of her leaving at all. So I just kind of block that out of my mind. Yeah, I know. I guess you have to stay home then. Darn. No, it's just hard. A place to live. Yeah. You live life with them all that time. And what do you do now? Our lives have revolved around our children. You'll understand when your entire adulthood. I know. That's why I have a son now who's 21 months. Yeah. You know, everybody is like, I didn't know that. Yes, so life is a little bit crazy. Oh, how fun! But it's really interesting. People are like, what are you doing? Like, you're at the end, and that's so brave. And I'm like, she can't help but be a mom. I have parented my entire adult life. I've never had a career and didn't have kids, and I'm like, that's all I know. So it's not, for me, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm missing out on. This whole world that people had where they didn't have kids in their career. I'm like, I
I have no idea. So Lainey says my essence is mom, so I'm like, we're just going with it.
That's
Just
great.
keep going. So yeah, I'm
That's so
sending
awesome.
one to college, one to preschool, one to walk, and one to drive. And it's like a total
That's totally
split,
cool.
crazy
That's
life,
totally
but,
cool.
but also good. And
And
they're
you've
both
built a
wonderful.
babysitter.
Finally, she's babysitting for me a little bit. No, we've
Oh,
really thought the built-in babysitter
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
because
like
she have a
mindset. I'm like, she's like in high school. I'm like, she's got a life to live and figure out. And
Yeah.
like,
You
you know,
actually
she's
started
doing
doing social
things.
things for the first time ever. So we're doing a Global Student Council conference again, but it's the kids from Marymount had a hard time running the campus, and it was too busy, things going on, and it's you know, ideally we wanted to like do some workshops with them to kind of teach them some of the skills that they need to do it and kind of build capacity for it. That never happened, and I think it was just too much for them. So I think they'll still be involved, but we're really going to, it's going to be more of an adult structure. So, you know, we're looking for schools to partner with us to help us do this and that sort of thing. And so talk to Steve if you guys are interested in being involved. Yeah. Because that's really kind of his thing. But yeah, I think hopefully it'll be a little bit, you know, it's going to be a one-day thing at the end of April. Hopefully it'll be something that your schools may want to show, like if you have a new project or something, this might be a good time to show them something. Yeah,
It's great. We love. I mean, I just think that opportunity, you know, for her to do that and try on her own.
Yeah.
You know, we had presented in Atlanta at ISTE together, did a
I think
workshop
I knew that,
together.
yeah.
But then, like, for her to have a platform, a global platform on her own to speak on something that she knew, it was just incredible. And then for me as a mom, I mean, because it's live, right? So I'm just like sitting there, like just watching her do this thing, and
I would give my IT to my daughter to do that. It says something
it's just
about your
amazing.
maturity.
Well, and and you too. Like, I mean, the number of webinars I have seen and watched, you know, from adults, and then I'm like watching her do this thing, like with my jaw on the ground, because I mean, I knew it was a great opportunity. I'm like, you should do this, you should do this. But then the way she did it, it just blew me away. So of course, then you know, so then
It's
year
just like,
two,
I'm
and now
gonna-
she's here with, we're doing a lecture together on memes, using memes, and then teach all the memes. And then she has a 30-minute snapshot on screenwriting that's similar to what she did the first year with for you all, and then a poster session with another high schooler from her filmmaking program tonight.
It's
as well.
amazing,
So-
amazing, amazing, amazing. we're also thinking about doing a student film fest too, and for the school and and there would be a kind and for the school near where I live, they have kind of a global program embedded in the school, very small private school. They want to do a physical kind of thing, bring in some. There's a program called By Kids, which is you get like high level people to work with kids on the North Level schools. It's unbelievable. And so there's a woman who runs that kind of workshops with the kids at the school and preschools. And then there would be a film competition where like we would be submitted like in January, and then they would, you know, whoever won would come to the actual screenings of some of these in Chicago. So I don't know if we'll have that really good sponsorship. It's not something that we're running directly. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, just graduated, so we have no idea what our world.
So then you need to start training the next kid to be your co-presenter.
Oh my gosh, that's two. Like, could you imagine? Like, I'm gonna present this one with a toddler. Here we go.
You could just like a toddler and iPads or something.
I'm not sure there is like an age. I've never seen an age thing right on the student presenters. It doesn't say. Like,
a demo
too
for
young.
Whatever. I hope you're having a good time.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Oh my gosh, and I'll tell you this: we got the right, giant conference. Here, there's so many people, and a woman that I that I didn't know. I just sit down, and she starts to give her little bio.
Thanks, ladies. Okay. This magic global. It's happened. Yeah, I think this room does it. This is awesome. Okay.
Hold on. Oh, wait. Can I hear it now? I don't think it's picking up.
Check 2 3 4. Hello. Check 2 3 4.
Well, that's not encouraging.
Check, check, check. Hello, check 2 3 4. Test 1 2. 2 3 and 4. Hey, 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 hey. This is microphone check 2 3 4. Test 1 2. Check 2 3 4. Test 1 2. Hello, hello. Check 2. Anything, anything? From this one? This one? Coming from this one? Okay.
Okay, it's time to come back in for one last hurrah. Can everybody please make their way to the front of the room? If you're wondering what the beach balls are for, we were hoping that you guys would bat them around the room and have some fun with them. So feel free to play a little beach volleyball with the various balls. And come on down for the Cool Tools Duel. And I think Brad is going to be our first presenter talking about Participate's new app. Come on down, people. Where's Brad? Brad, you're up. There he is. Okay, so first up is going to be Brad from Participate. Second is going to be Daniel. So Daniel, come and be nearby so that you can jump in here. And Alicia Moss and Sarah Harkin and Molly and Terry. Time to get down here and be ready for the Cool Tools Duel. I'm looking for Daniel, Alicia, Sarah, Molly, Terry. Okay, hi Daniel. Really? Am I calling you Molly? Mally? Am I calling you the wrong? Okay, all right. Okay, awesome. Okay, all right. So you're going to get in here and you're going to drive. Okay?
Thank you. Oh, it's actually in there. The link. Yeah. If you don't mind just opening it already, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Hello. That's for TJ. Hi. I'm Anna with Participate, just in case the hat or the shirt didn't give it away.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me in the back of the room? Raise your hand. Okay, we're starting the Cool Tools Duel, and we need to quiet down a little bit. Thank you very much for your attention. We need you up here.
Okay. So just in case the hat and the shirt didn't give it away, I'm Anu from Participate, and
I'm Lauren from Participate.
so this is a little bit of self-serving presentation, but we have a really cool tool to show you. Yesterday was a really big day for us. We launched our very first mobile app, and you heard a little bit today already about Twitter chats, and so the idea of informal learning and collaboration, and we built a tool that lets you do all this from your phone. So what you look at here is a short GIF that sort of highlights some of the cool features, and I'm going to let Lauren talk a little bit about what you can do with this app.
Thanks, Arna. So just to harken back to Kathleen's talk earlier, we went through a user-centered design process on this app. And so what we came away with are some features around receiving notifications in real time that we can see here, providing a really organized experience for what you know can become chaotic at times in a Twitter chat. So you're able to tweet. Up in the top, you'll notice there's a pause button. So if you got to go help your kids or walk your dog, you can pause your chat and come back to it when you're ready. We're still pulling in all of the great resources and the question and answer format that's in our desktop app. And then one click to follow and connect with other educators right on Twitter. And then finally, I'm not sure if it's in this GIF, but when you first log into the app, there's a really nice Explore view where you can find Twitter chats by topic. So we've selected some topics to get us started here. You can download this app in the App Store as of 2 days ago. And we really welcome your feedback and hope that you all will check it out, use it, and keep us informed about what you think. That's a great question.
So right now the app is only available for Apple devices. So if you go to iOS App Store and you type in Participate Chats, should be the first one that comes up. We already have over hundreds of Twitter chats supported. So we'll want to invite you to join a chat. It's really fun. It's very easy to do now in the app too. Yeah.
The default chat that you'll see when you log in is ISTE17 hashtag. So it's a really fun way to bop around the conference. So check it out. Participate Chats is the name. All right.
While she's looking for that, I'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Daniel Witt. I'm a tech coordinator in Madison City Schools outside of Huntsville, Alabama. This is my brain partner, Molly. Molly and I and some other people have been working really, really hard for 3 years to get digital portfolios lifted off the ground. What we found is that lots of people are talking about it, and very few people are doing it like at scale with everybody in the district. I believe that as we seek to pursue a future of education where education is an accomplishment culture as opposed to a culture that rewards students with grades and numbers, we need a platform, we need an avenue, a venue, a vehicle to get there, and we think the digital portfolios are that thing. So what we did is we spent 3 years and we created a 38-minute documentary. It's the what, how, and why of digital portfolios. It's on YouTube. It's totally free. In the description of the video, we've also put a link to a Google Drive folder where we curated all of our best resources for every single grade level so that teachers have the basic tools, handouts, graphic organizers, etc., that they will need to get going. So we try to make it as easy as possible. The documentary is 38 minutes on purpose because we want you to be able to watch it at faculty meetings or in leadership meetings or with your kids in class. The documentary walks all the way through why we should do it. So if you're having a hard time convincing people in your district that digital portfolios are a thing they should care about, that is the primary purpose of the first half of the documentary. And then it gets really real about the logistics of digital portfolios. We recommend tools, but we don't subscribe to them, right? Because the new tool will come out next year. So whereas our high order kids are using Wix to design websites, our middle grades maybe use Google Sites and Weebly, our lower grades maybe are using Seesaw or Class Dojo as their portfolio platform. We don't try to stick to a single tool in the documentary because we know that by next year and the year after, these tools will change. Thank you guys very much. Please tweet it, share it. We want it to go crazy.
Hello, my name is Alicia Moss, and I teach 5th grade in Andover, Kansas. My tool that I wanted to share was edu.bunsey.com, and through that they have a Bunsey Buddies, and it is free to be a part of. They will connect you with other schools that sign up for your age group. So mine last year, we were connected with people from Kentucky and Georgia, as well as from Azerbaijan. It was amazing for my kids to have that experience and to see the differences between us and them, even when we are located in the United States. From this, it's kind of an open-ended on how you move forward with your partnered school or classroom. It can be one-to-one with one partner exchanging things with another partner, or it could be whole classroom. You can choose to use any avenue. We always start with a mystery Skype, just so we can get figured out where are you located and kind of get to know each other from that. We are able to share information that way. And then we move forward, and the first one that was kind of the big outlying focus for the fall was about peace and bringing peace to the classroom and peace to our community, and how were my students going to be a part of that. And then in the spring, it was moved to Earth Day, and what could we do in our classroom again, and more focused on our community, and what can we do to be a bigger part of just bigger than us, bigger than just a 5th grader in our classroom. So if you go to that Bunsey Buddies, you will be able to very soon get signed up if you want to be a part of that. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm actually really bad at technology, and I'm not being humble about it. I'm actually horrible. I'm like every technology coach's worst nightmare. I'm learning how to use Google Drive. I always just, like, please just send me the link. No, it's in the drive. So what am I doing here? Well, this is something we made at our school for taking actions on the SDGs. And one of the things that we looked at was really helping students really believe that it's possible. So the first thing that we did is we partnered with social innovators around our community, also in other countries. And what's a little bit different about this is we really looked at what students could do in the classroom. So it starts with building their team. So they connect based on the SDG that they're passionate about. And then they identify the local needs within their community. Then after that, they look at their team members and what are their skills, what are they passionate about, and help them identify what their toolbox, what do they have as a collective group, what can they do, what are their resources. And using the design thinking process, sorry, we can kind of just scroll down. Sorry. So let's build your team. That's when you start imagining it's 2030, what happens. There's a reflection area to help them go through each of the global goals. So for example, going through the reflection, our students who are doing gender equality, they realized that one thing they want to stop doing is using the word pretty, describing girls as pretty. Oh, you look pretty today, you look so beautiful, because when they did that, it made girls value how they looked versus real things that matter. So it was a bit awkward at first because we're all saying things like, oh, you look so academic, instead of what, you're saying, oh, you got good hair, oh, you've got a really nice dress today. But what are those small steps that we need to take in order to reach those goals? So we kind of break it down, and then as students start that movement, things like, oh my goodness, Michael Ferneck from Taking IT Global is listening to me talk right now. He's got better ideas than me. But so our kids, what they did was, stop using the paper bags at the cafeteria. So they started saying, sorry, thank you. If you have any feedback, please send it to me. Please use it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mally Bickley, and I work with Taking It Global. I'm a retired teacher, and I now have the honor of playing with Mike Furtick and Terry Godwalt on a regular basis, so it's really fun. So the tool that I'm going to talk to you right now about is called the Commit to Act program. And how many of you have ever been in your classrooms and talking about some of these really big social issues and environmental issues, and your kids will say, well, I'm just one person, I really can't make a difference. Well, in Taking It Global, they've developed a tool that helps kids track their global impact, environmental impact. So what I did in my classroom is every week we had a challenge, and we looked at an environmental issue like plastic water bottles. And I'd say to the kids, let's try and not bring a plastic water bottle to school. We'll be using a reusable water bottle. And at the end of the day, as their exit ticket, we would go into the Commit to Act app and choose one of those challenges, the actions here, and the kids would be able to sign into their... And at the end of the week, they would see how many plastic water bottles they were able to keep out of landfill. So it's a really great app where they could see actual data about what they've done to help the Earth. It also helps them to see their connection to other classrooms or countries around the world, because it aggregates information from different classes. You can challenge another class to meet their environmental goals, and you can look at data from other countries. So as a really quick and fun and engaging exit ticket or an activity that you can do with your kids, I encourage you to sign up for Commit to Act and encourage your kids to see that their really small actions can be accumulated and make a positive global impact. Thank you.
Fabulous. So I'm going to talk about the Global Gallery from Taking It Global. And essentially what it is it's art gallery that has submissions from around the globe that's on the Taking It Global website. And what's really exciting about it, I think, in the classroom is that for you to be able to access tens of thousands of pieces of art that are all in one place. And so let's say you're doing some work around decarbonize. And so you want to go online, you put in the word, the token word decarbonize, and then you'll have 200 pieces of art that will show up. And then you could look at, and this is one of the projects we're actually doing with the Decarbonize project, is we want our goal is 20,000 pieces of art to be submitted. And when the students submit their art, we want them to tag it with the region that they're from, and then we want them to tag it with, because this year's focus is called Decarbonize, Decolonize. So we're looking at the impacts of the colonial systems upon the decarbonizing that we want to do. So we want, so schools will submit their art with tags on it, and then you can look at, and you can find the art that relates. And you can do projects, for example, how does decarbonize differ in these different countries, and when you're working with different indigenous groups, what kind of impact does that have in terms of the art that's there? So because when you have such a mass, it's like working with big data, right? When you have so many thousands and thousands of art that are all tagged to different topics, you can get your kids to do research in a global context. So not just submit their work and create their work, but actually analyze work that is there around some specific topics of interest that you might be working with in the class. And that is the Global Gallery.
Awesome. Thank you. So those tools we'll add to the interactive agenda if we haven't done that already, and you'll be able to find the links after this event. We're going to pull our three Great Global Project Challenge winners up here today. And Ruth and Ronaldo and Lori, come on up, and you're going to talk to us about your work. We're speeding through everything right now, so I'll give you a minute to get down here. Let me tell you a little bit about this challenge. This started as an idea of mine after thinking about a project from a friend of mine named Carolyn Skiba. Oops, I guess my time's up. And Carolyn did a project called If You Lived Here. She does it every year with Mary Morgan Ryan, another Illinois educator. And it's based on a book called If You Lived Here. And their project's If You Learned Here. So kids are organized into groups, and they do they use Flipgrid typically. I think they've used Seesaw before too. I'm going to sneeze. And they answer questions about each other and get to know each other over the course of like 6 weeks or so. And then they do 2 pages in, every school does 2 pages in a book creator, and they send it to Carolyn and Mary Morgan, and they assemble it into a digital book, If You Learned Here, that's similar to the real book, If You Lived Here. If You Learned Here, Lived Here. So it was a really well done project for a number of reasons. A, it's structured. Do you want to pull up your project while we're waiting? It's really well structured. It's not taking all year. They're very specific in their directions. There are a lot of good elements to this project that make it very easy for other classrooms to participate in. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun to kind of, and the other thing is that I think a lot of schools and teachers have a hard time finding the right project for them and their needs. And so I thought, if everybody's doing projects, why don't we throw them into, have a kind of an initiative around this, and we called it the Great Global Project Challenge. So anyone could put in a project, and we tried to publicize it so that they would get partners. And we wanted those projects to go between, September and April. And then we had a grant challenge as part of this, thanks to Participate and the Partnership for 21st Century Learning. And what we did was there were the people who jumped through the final hoops of this process were able to submit their projects and be considered for a grant. And we have 9 grant winners from all over the world. The article about them is linked in the Google Classroom if you want to learn more about them. And we're really lucky because 3 of them happen to be coming to ISTE today. And their work is phenomenal. I think they're going to do future projects. So if you're looking to find, to connect with someone, these are 3 people that you might want to do so with. So I'm going to turn this over to our first person, Lori, and who's our international representative from Canada. So it's all yours.
Thank you very much. It's been such a great opportunity to be involved, and thank you. I just want to share for a few minutes. I know we're on a timeline here. My project I designed was really an entry point. I think what's most important when it comes to global learning is that there has to be a place where all teachers feel comfortable jumping in. And so we designed this amazing race for exactly that reason. So what it is that, like the TV show, you can travel worldwide and you can engage in different activities in different parts of the world. So you can see the map here has got all different locations. Students simply click on one of the pins and they come up with a slideshow that will typically have a video, it will have some questions about the location, and a skill testing question. What I think is really powerful about this particular project that I'm extremely proud of is that the entire project was designed by students around the world. So for each of these locations, it's coming from students who live in all of those places. So it's not my students or me posting about Hungary, Ireland, Israel, Italy, or New Zealand. It's actually the teachers that are in those, or the teachers and students that are in those locations. So as students travel around and click on different locations on this Amazing Race website, once they answer the Google form, they actually instantly receive back a passport, or which is really a PDF, but we like to call it a stamp in their passport, so they can track the different places they're going. What I also love is that some of the students use tourism videos to share, but a lot of the different locations are actually creating their own videos that they've created, things that they think are really important for you to know about where they live. So after students visit the race, we like to encourage them to have conversation on the Padlet. So this project was actually designed for Global Education Day 2016, and so we're really looking forward to keeping it moving forward. So if you have a class that would like to participate by adding a pit stop, we would absolutely love to have you. You can find my contact information on the site, and or you certainly are welcome. Students are engaging in this project all year long, so it's always open. Students can always be on it. And you don't have to register, you don't have to sign in, you just bring your students to the website. They travel globally wherever they want to go in the world to learn a little bit about kids who live there from the actual kids who live there.
Thank you. Who wants to be the next victim? Ruth?
Okay, so I am Ruth Valle, and I'm the leader of our project, Why Should I Study a Foreign Language? And to me, it is kind of obvious why one should study a foreign language, but to my students, it's not so obvious. I am a Spanish teacher at Sequoia High School in Monroe County, Tennessee, and my students live in sort of an isolated environment, and we don't get out much. So this was a very enlightening project, actually, for my students. My co-project leaders were Atalo Carrao from Brazil and Alexis Radney from the Dominican Republic, who are both also language teachers and who have collaborated with me on a variety of projects over the past few years. So for our project, we created a Google form and got this out over Twitter, and to register 28 international schools from 11 countries. So then we sent out another Google form and collected reasons for studying a foreign language, as well as favorite language learning websites and apps, and as well as videos of the students themselves stating reasons for learning languages. So this website is whystudyalanguage.weebly.com if you'd like to look at it. whystudyalanguage.weebly.com. And all of this was compiled on the website, as I said. So some of the reasons they stated from around the world were as follows. It's a new door to myself, my mind. I can make a lot of things so different from my tiring routine. I love to play games in English, to communicate with other people, open up a world of job opportunities, establish deep connections and cross-cultural friendships, becoming more interesting and meet more interesting people, get an outsider's perspective of your own culture, better job opportunities, to be able to speak with my family members who speak Spanish, and there were lots and lots more reasons to study a language. So we're extremely grateful for receiving this grant, and we will use it to continue our global collaborations.
I'm making sure I'm going to do it quick, very, very quick. I'm Reynaldo Duran from Odessa, Texas. I am actually an English teacher. I'm still learning to introduce myself that way because obviously I don't know if I'm a really good teacher. I have been a math teacher all my life, and accidentally I was assigned as an English teacher last year. So I'm here. I don't know if my country, even Philippines, my country, even in the Philippines, has never trusted me to become an English teacher over there, and here I am teaching English to American kids. Anyway, I am in the alternative education setting. It's a juvenile facility, so writing is not really their thing. So I have conceptualized a way to change that behavior and change that perception, because my kids really have less self-efficacy. Like when you're thinking that you're not really good at something, and it's gonna be the whole thing about school. But I have found out that my kids are actually very interested writing letters. So I'm thinking like, if I'm gonna have my kids write something, but in advance I'm gonna tell them, hey, there are a group of people who are gonna look at your writing outputs, I think that is gonna change. I think that whole behavior is gonna change. So I have conceptualized doing International Junior Writers Club. Actually, the name is not deliberate. I just look at that on the internet, and good, I have never had any competition getting that name, and so I got it. But anyway, my first problem in thinking of coming up with this project is who I'm gonna have to collaborate with, who I'm gonna be my collaborators. So what I did was I went back to my former friends back in my country, and I asked them if there's a possibility for me to coordinate with them. They said, not really, kind of like that. And so I tried to communicate with the U.S. Embassy. There is this program in the U.S. Embassy. I think you need to try this one too. They have this access program where they have scholars all over the world who are learning American culture. So I have communicated with them, and then they said, okay, you try looking at possibilities in my country. And so I found one, but it turned out to be actually in the same region where I was teaching. And so I was able to get one from my country. And then some of my kids are also English language learners, and I was thinking also I needed to go get some collaborators also from Spain. I like Spain because, they're the authority of Spanish language. So I was thinking, okay, I'm going to use my being a former exchange teacher. I was actually with the VIF in 2006. So I had friends before who were in, Spanish, and I was able to collaborate with them. And then hopefully, they're going to continue doing that this coming school year. But anyway, so my project is actually about writing. It could be any writing. It could be any genre, because I'm not thinking like maybe limiting this so that it would become open and more interest grabber to other teachers from other parts of the world. And so it is all about writing. And here's what I did. I make it a PBL thing. Say, for example, I had this project where my kids here in the U.S. acted as staff members of a Texas magazine. And then I asked them, they're going to produce, because they are staff, they're going to produce stories, songs about the theme that we were studying in our classroom. And then my partner from the Philippines acted in that whole PBL, acted as the artists, and they're the ones who are going to provide artwork that went with the stories that my kids did that for that project. And my partners from Spain acted as the editors of that whole process. I thought that was okay because their kids are learning English also. So if I'm gonna change the pattern, they're the ones who are gonna be the judge of the writers of the writing outputs of my American kids. I think that would also probably give them a little higher kind of like higher level thinking kind of activity. And then in order for my other partners to get tracked on what's going to happen the whole school year, somewhere there in the other part, I tried to open that, but I couldn't do it. I had an agenda, the whole year agenda, so that in advance they could see what's going to happen next. And then I asked them to come up also with their plans in relation, and that's consistent with my curriculum. And then, yeah, I think I'm good. Yeah. And then sustainability. I'm thinking like, how do I make my teachers, become a sustainable partners? I asked them that whenever we're gonna have the whole, school year going, at the end of the school year, our school is gonna provide them kind of like certificates, something like that. And so we did that. We had that, and so I think, for international teacher like me, receiving something from United States, a certificate from United States, is kind of like interest boosting on what you're doing. So I guess that's my project. The problem though is that I am not really into technology. My country, Philippines, is a third world country. We have computers in the classroom. Technology is good probably when we talk about only computers. But what about the internet? They don't have internet, so our way of communication is, scan and then send email. And then I am in the juvenile facility. I am not allowed to expose my kids, that I'm servicing. I think that fits to my my objective, because that way all the kids' outputs are analyzed. Are seen first by me. There's no direct communication among the kids who are participating from here and then from the other parts of the world. If you happen to be a teacher from outside of America, I would love you to be a part of our project. I hope we're extending more collaborators. Thank you, ma'am.
That's awesome, Ronaldo. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our winners. I want to take your pictures, so don't leave. But what you may have not caught from Ronaldo is that he came here through Participate, through VIF, which brings teachers to the U.S. to work in schools. And maybe Brad and Julie can talk a little bit about that before we sign off for tonight. Steve, do you want to have any final comments? Okay. I'm going to say a couple things. We're looking for more people to grow our network and do more things. We particularly want to kind of add the Global Education Day model and our Global Leadership Summit model onto other conferences and that sort of thing. So if anybody out there wants to partner with us, let us know. We have a lot of exciting things going on, and we hope that teachers here will present at our conference. The call for proposals is actually technically up. We'll announce it July 1st, but it's open and between now and November 1st, and we can walk you through that process if you need help and that sort of thing. It's a completely virtual, completely online, completely free conference, all focused on the stuff that you learned here today. So we hope that you will join in on that. It's globaleducationconference.com. So I'm going to give this mic over to Julie and Brad, and they're going to wrap things up and take us home. Tell us a little bit about, too, your global programs before we go, because I think the program that Ronaldo came in with it would be very interesting to people.
Or you start and I'll pipe in.
Excellent. So you know about us through Participate and the interactive agenda that we created, but we're a 30-year-old organization dedicated to cultural exchange teaching, and our heritage includes bringing teachers like in this case, from all over the world to the United States to really extend a global learning experience in the K through 12 level. So part of our business remains predicated upon bringing in these voices and teachers from all over the world into the United States. We extend that also through global immersion programs and dual language programs where we work with schools, districts, and organizations to really like transform what they're doing and how they're doing through cross-cultural connections, empathy, global competencies. You want to talk about the technology?
Well, all I would say is that part of the reason that Participate was born was really to extend the expertise and the collaboration that came with those international teachers so that it's available to everyone, even outside the areas where we can bring teachers. So if you want to kind of collaborate with international teachers and share their expertise, Participate, it's sort of bottled up in the platform. But I think we want to wrap it up. I think we all hold a huge round of applause for Lucy and Steve for bringing us together. Woohoo! Year 6. Hopefully it will keep going. It's amazing. We've had amazing conversations. We hope you keep collaborating with us on the platform. Participate. Please keep engaged with all of the activities that Lucy and Steve, they never stop.
And then obviously don't forget the interactive agenda that you've been using throughout the day. You could take to really collect all the resources, all the conversations, all the collaboration that's taking place. If you want to go through and share your reflections on what you're learning and how you want to share that with others, you can earn a badge from the experience. We would always love your feedback. And again, thank you so much for coming.